Start your day.
Told me that name is South African. Are you a South African? I was like, no, it is Kenyan. I am proud to be a Kenyan.
Proud to be, but you didn't.
Akasema ni jina haipatikani kama Otieno. Even Aseto is not as common, right?
No, it's not. It's not.
So it's a good thing to have a good name.
It's a good thing.
Or a unique name, right?
Yes, it's a good thing to have a unique name because then it's easy for people to remember.
Yeah.
Because ukisema Otieno in Kisumu, everyone is Otieno. Like ukisema Osido, it's just a single Osido.
Hallelujah.
You say Aseto, it's just a single. See?
But you don't say.
You don't say. Anyway, asanteni sana to everybody who's made this happen. Evelyn from the other side, asante sana. Derek, good morning. How are you? As well as Voke. Want to say hi to JB. Want to say hi to Mutanu, Derek. We have Sheila, Leobaga, every person who makes the gurudumu to move, the gurudumu that we call spice, part of the cog that makes these happen, including our listeners from terrestrial radio, those who are listening and watching on YouTube, whether you are on the Spice app, you can also download that on Google Play and App Store. We are there as well so that you can always be on the move with Spice FM wherever it is you are, as well as just conversations that are taking place on Instagram, Twitter or X, as well as on Facebook. Be sure to join us there and have these conversations with us today, because remember, the Spice FM, mature conversations. And let me just take you through some of the conversations that we will be having this morning. So at exactly 7 a.m., we will be having a conversation around bridging the gender gap. Yesterday we had a conversation on gender equality and 2/3 gender rule, how we are, whether we are able to get that, because there is a bill that is in Parliament and is being discussed on whether we need it or not, or how exactly for us to be able to achieve that. But in today's conversation, we're going to be having Ilhan Hisham Said, who is the FIDA Kenya board member, and Marianne Keitany, who is MP Aldai, talking about bridging the gender gap. That is at 7 a.m. and at 8 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz has reopened, and now the Hormuz has reopened. Will Kenya feel the relief at the pump? That is the question, because as you speak right now, fuel shortage is there. You talk about transporters, those in the transportation industry, border borders finding it difficult to get the black gold. So Ahmed Hashi is the foreign policy expert, and Martin Chomba is the chair, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, just getting to understand, with the Strait of Hormuz now being opened, what is Kenya doing, and are we even doing anything to get that? And you have to have conversations with what is going on with the Ministry of Energy. A fuel that was ordered to the country did not meet the standards, did not go as per the policy of the country. Where does that place us, as well as decisions that Kenya has taken with regard to the ongoing war, or the war that is now under 2 weeks ceasefire. How should Kenya moving forward position itself whenever such incidents do happen? And at 9 a.m., we'll be having a discussion around street children, justice, protection, and dignity for children in street situation. Homelessness in Kenya continues to grow every day. The other day we were having a conversation with a professor here, and he told us that on his way home, he used to see a single homeless person. But over time, the same street, they are now around 5 or 6. So that tells you that the number continues to increase, and that is just on a very short stretch. So think about the entire country, as street children, as street families that are there. How do we take care of them? Is there a policy for them? Do we have rehabilitation centers for them? And then also cases of attacks that we've seen in Nairobi. Street children being found dead in mortuaries, some on the streets just killed, So how then do we interact with them and ensure that they as well do enjoy the rights that they do have? So Linda Ntinyari is social worker, safeguarding lead remaid, and Damaris Lubanga is the program officer, access to justice, Pendekezo Ledu. Those are the conversations we'll be having on Kenya's biggest conversation from 7 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. But I want us to go to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, and Democratic Republic of Congo, a beautiful country. You know, you think about Congo resources, think about Congo, you think war, you think about they also have gorillas, I think.
Oh yeah,
they do have gorillas. You think about the rainforest, and the resources that they do have is just amazing. And I keep on going back to the East Africa community and the African Union on what they must do to ensure that Congo is the king of the continent as is, right? But let's go to the proverb. So the proverb today, he who loves a baboon should not mind its ugly face. Good morning, Evelyn. Happy to see you. Yeah.
Why is Evelyn walking in when we are talking about baboons and love?
How would you interpret it? So, he who loves a baboon should not mind its ugly face.
Very, very important things there, particularly love. That if you love something, how it looks like, what comes out of it, really should not be any worry. It should not bother you. The bottom line there is love. And that when you love it, you give it your all, regardless of how it looks, because there's love and there's an ugly face. So if you love something, regardless of how it looks like, that love will continue, it will be sustained, and you'll also feed the love.
True.
So I see love and the opportunity to commit to loving something.
Yeah. So I look at situations where no one is picture perfect. There is no one who's perfect out here. There is nothing that is perfect. Even vehicles of the assembly line always has a defect.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you do love something or you do love someone or you have accepted someone, you should accept them with their flaws, not just the good side that they come with. So we need to understand that fine, you're my friend, you are my significant other, but that you come with your own baggage, and that baggage is part and parcel of who you are. So I should be able to accommodate that. If you're fixing, we fix it together. If we can't fix it, we find a way of working around it.
And we go through the ugly faces.
Kabisa, you look at it and say, you know, I don't see that. I see the oomph, the amazingness that you come with. You know, they say the beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. You know, so even the most beautiful person in the world might not be beautiful to the other person. You know,
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Wengine wanasemaga sisi tunatafuta tabia. So kuna wale wenye tabia is the beauty that they're looking for. So
Wow.
Interesting.
Sure.
Wacha tusalamie watu sasa. Mahanu Oliver. Good morning, Spice family. We should pray so hard for our country, Kenya. I agree. Yesterday's events, both in Olokalawi and Kisumu or Sotsi, speaks volumes of what to expect in the 2027 elections. You know what? I think it's about time that we had candid conversations and just called out BS for what it is. What happened in Kisumu yesterday is total BS.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time. You remember when Irungu Nyakera's hotel was attacked? That was BS, number one.
Yeah.
Whatever happened yesterday on Osotsi, first of all, Senator Osotsi, quick recovery to him, to family and friends, Poleni Sana. But to the idiots who walked into that mall to attack a man who was sitting, enjoying his coffee, whatever it is, disagreement you had with this man, you are a weak individual on the face of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is total BS and should not be allowed simply because whether it's political, whether it's personal, you do not do that.
Especially to a senator, not just a senator, any Kenyan does not deserve that kind of nonsense. It is quite unfortunate. The security apparatus, I think Kenyans, we must get tired of being treated to live CCTV cameras that ultimately get nothing done about them. If you scan those cameras, there are people that you see their faces there. And this is Kisumu. Kisumu, those who live in Kisumu and those who visited Kisumu, is a town where you can be able to tell who lives where they come from, how they look like. It's a big city, but it's a very small town as well. Everybody almost knows everyone. So for us to be able to get goons, people walking in and attacking a senator is quite unfortunate, and it speaks to the kind of insecurity that any Kenyan feels anywhere along this country. And we call upon the security apparatus, the institution of the National Police Service, including the DCI, those who need to undertake certain evidence building, please show us something. Give us something.
Do your job.
Yeah, give us something.
Do your job. Do your job, because we cannot allow these to continue. Hapana.
Yeah.
You know, if it's political, the individuals who hires goons, wewe na goons wako, I don't even want to call you children, because I think children are smarter. You're just like idiots that are walking on the face of the earth. You ought not to call yourself a progressive individual. You are like on the bottom of the barrel completely. You do not deserve to be here. I'm sorry.
That was unfortunate. It was uncalled for, regardless of whatever you be for issues, conflicts you have with an individual.
It's not handled like that.
It is not handled like that. It was not worth it.
Yes.
And we hope that Parliament as well, because that's a member of an august house.
Yes.
It's a protected infrastructure. That, of course, it didn't happen within the precepts of Parliament, but this is a sitting member of Parliament.
Yes.
This is a senator. We hope that the members will also be calling for certain stern action
to be taken.
Security
apparatus as well, Bwana. This is an opportunity for you guys. We know how you do your investigations. We know how you go about it. This is about time that we saw the boots work and that justice is actually delivered. Carrier Peter, good morning from Mombasa. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. I agree with you, Carrier. Robert Mbogo, good morning. Tuned in from Mombasa. But Mombasa, Robert Mbogo and Wenzel Dashington tuned in from Matuga in County 002. Looking forward to great minds discussing great things. Asante Sana House, Kwale County. And here we are with Brian Otieno. Good morning from Dubai. Beirut has turned into a quagmire. Only time will tell. So there is the ceasefire, but Israel has said we will continue to hit Lebanon, and there is an attack, a surprise attack that happened yesterday of 100 people left dead.
Dennis, the other time we were talking about the international institutions, especially those that are aligned to peace and security, the UN, among others. What does this really mean? Especially when you have members of that body that have veto power, and you have attacks that continue to go on and have global ramifications. Because that is not just happening in, in the Middle East or in Dubai, etc., in Iran. But look at how other countries, including Kenya, are now being affected.
Pretty much.
I wonder whether they're waiting for September to speak or whether there are meetings going on.
I'm asking a simple question, man. Like when we have all these bodies, United Nations and its position on security and peace building, we have NATO and its promise of providing security. But also we have agreements and treaties that we've signed on human life and human rights, So when you see individuals being killed simply because sikupendi or whatever, whichever you're going to look at it, who takes the responsibility, and when does justice get to be delivered to those who've been killed? When will justice be served to Kenyans who today are going through a difficult time for their lives to continue because they depend on fuel to run the business? Because it is not just about what is happening on that side of the world. The entire world is going through a difficult time. People are losing jobs simply because of decisions that are being made by those who think they know it all. We must have all that.
And the bravado and the kind of tough talk that people are spewing all over.
Let's just say, call it for what it is. And Alex Gyoko, good morning, Team Spice, tuned in from Kitale. Tunawapata kwa njia iliyo bora. Asante sana, Alex Gyoko. Brian Otieno, August 10th, 2027 is coming. It will be on a Tuesday. Don't make it Fool's Day. Christina, good morning. Kenya did the best benchmark in Haiti. Kisumu, Nairobi, and Mombasa are becoming Haiti. It is sad, but I agree with you. If we don't take care of our goons today, remember that this is how it started in Haiti. We must deal with this nonsense now. Not kesho, now.
And especially because almost every politician, has a group of goons. And these are people who are, again, known by everyone. Why can't our security apparatus, again, back to them, really, just work on this and crack down on these goons? And amidst all these affirmative action programs that are going on, Nyota, what really is the root cause? What is the driving force for the goons? Is it because you want to scare people? Is it because you just want to attack to show certain power and prowess that you might be wielding and yet is not there? we cannot continue like this. We must do something to stop it.
So these guns belong to a certain politician, right? So if you want to look for a gun leader, look for that politician. Am I right?
No, you are.
Yeah.
Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. So it means the politician is also a goon.
The one who is sponsoring and paying these goons, he is the goon leader.
Yeah.
He is the gang leader,
The
actually.
gooner.
The gooner. So, yeah. So we go to Faith Mutitio. Salamus, you all in studio. Salamus to you too. Waiting to hear the headlines and ever-evolving drama in Kenya. Just getting to bed here in Virginia and tuned in. Asante sana for staying up this hour. And Asante sana, we shall be getting to the headlines in a few. And Leo, yesterday was a score-settling day at the Kiarao funeral and sending messages and showing who has the influence. This nation is Comedy Central. We will not talk about that. We will go into the headlines and just read on what happened, because I was on air yesterday and I was listening to how Babs are being thrown. I was like, yo.
I foresee a handshake. Possible, not possible, but it's just an imagination that I have.
But on the flip side of things, I imagined what we were fed yesterday, and democracy in Kenya is on another level.
Yeah.
Other countries in the region, think of speaking to the president in Uganda.
Like
you would
that.
not even leave your house.
Yeah.
Think of Tanzania. Think about Rwanda. Think about many other countries. You cannot really speak to the president the way we saw that happen. That speaks to maturity that there is in the country. One, there is a discussion, however, on our political class and how they handle themselves whenever they're given a microphone. That is another conversation altogether. But in terms of free speech and addressing your issues,
the right
regardless
of
where you we are expressing ourselves.
But again, I think that some of those guys felt quite safe and uncomfortable, particularly the DCP leader, because initially one had it that he might not show up. And, there are those who also thought that it was a good place to attend, to go to just show up and speak. I liked the angle that he took.
Yeah.
Because he's consistently said he's a truthful man.
Truthful man.
And that the opportunities that you have to express yourself and to just speak out your heart, so that the other person also knows what you really are and what you're about. And that they were meeting, whether true or false, for the first time in public after the impeachment of Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua. I think that also showed something. The president was very bold.
Yeah.
He said, I don't need anyone to speak to Mount Kenya. And so we are looking forward to how that, flips and goes on ahead of 2027. But fali wawili wakipigana, they say ni nyasi. So sisi ndio nyasi.
Yeah. So welcome to Zach Oak, Morning Spice from Minneapolis here. The right act was loudly pronounced in the club. Good day. Yes, we agree. Right act was announced yesterday. And in Nyakundi Manuel, good morning, Team Spice. We should learn to tolerate other people. What happened in Kisumu yesterday, it's sad. Yes, indeed, we agree with you. Eric Kowar, good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Eric. Mohammed Ali Ibrahim, Jumbo Kenya. As usual, looking forward to an amazing day. Wishing you a good one too. Wishing you a good one as well. Jennifer Tanya, good morning, Dennis. You are co-host and Spice family. I am a sad Kenyan. Why violence on Senator Soti? Yes, indeed. That was sad to see. And by note, homelessness is everywhere. It's man-made. How do they make opportunities out of their circumstances? Yes, indeed. Mashari and Jeru. Good morning, Spice team. Watching from Portland, Oregon. There is no dull moment in Kenya's political arena. Rigiji versus Ruto. Yes, that was there to see. And Brian Otieno, love who you marry. Yes, penda ule ambaye umeoa. Nahashan Gugi. Good morning, Spice family. Dennis, the street was closed earlier today, morning hours. The ceasefire is out. Wale watu wa promised land did their thing. It's just a sad affair. Love from Arizona. Yes, indeed. Continues developing on the Strait of Hormuz and what that means for the entire world. Now, young Jedi, good morning, gents. Morning to you. Mkopoa, mimi nikopoa. Ukopoa, Osido?
Oh, kabisa nashukuru.
Yes. Kazi safi mnafanya. Looking forward to today's conversation. Thank you, young Jedi. And Erica Ward, where were Osotzi's bodyguards? That's a good question, because Osotzi has been assigned a bodyguard to bodyguards. Yeah. So where were they? That's a good question. Yeah. Because one would expect that at that point, maybe farms would have been shot in the air, people would have been displaced, Also, that's a mall. Maybe there was security officers around there. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, but still, bodyguards, no bodyguards. Nobody deserves what Senator Otsosi went through yesterday. Yes. And in the event that there were bodyguards, really, we will be talking about other things. Maybe deaths, as you rightfully said, firearms, blowing up. But still, bottom line, it was uncalled for.
Let's just call it for what it is, man. Ile ni ujinga. Mimi sijaona ujinga of that level. That's just pure nonsense. How do you even allow yourself to be used to go attack someone who's seated having coffee? That is not even you being a man. That is you being a sisi. Anyway, acha tumalize kwa watu. And mambiwa hapa inafaa tuchukue break. So, Ogeka, good morning, my people. Dennis, Kevin, and EVE. The backwardness of sorting to beating people because of what they believe in. It's absurd. Watching from Miami, Florida. Thomas Osoro, morning, Spice of happy Thursday. Waiting for today's conversation. Indeed, Atieno. Good morning, warriors for Kenya from Malindi. The Linda Wananchi guys have a bad habit of walking around with no formal security. That is Prince. And Jennifer Taini, how does the owner of Guns investigate himself? Biblia inasema tu uvuna alichopanda in the Honorable Uhuru regime alivumilia Dikombo. And Baba Three Girls, good morning Team Spice. And wapenda lakini si waugo tunakupenda. Script is the only to see people Ruto and Gachagua. So that is Alex Nai. And been a minute, I'm back from Marereni, Salt City, Kilifi County. Ndu akwapi? Ndu ameenda kuona wazazi in Nigeria, but we're here to ensure that all is well. We're not take a short commercial break. We'll be back. We look at the weather. We look at traffic as well. And to everybody who is listening, tunasema asante sana for being here.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Gachagua has beaten his time, and when the moment came, he seized it with both hands. He turned a national program into his own stage, tearing into President William Ruto and his allies with the voraciousness of a wounded tiger. He set the pace, lobbing epithets at the majority leader Kimani Ichung'wah, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, and his replacement Kithure Kindiki. Each of them listened uncomfortably, grinning and fidgeting. As if that were not enough, Gachagua introduced his team, even singing as though he had all the time in the world. Now, by the end of the solemn event, it was clear to the captivated crowd who held the ground. President Ruto himself, a master of comebacks, fell back on calls for decorum, but the damage had already been done. And this is a quote from former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and also DCP party leader. We loved and respected you and voted for you. And even if we have serious problems with you, we shall vote you out in the coming months. But for now, you are on the throne. Akaongezea, wewe fanyia sisi kazi. Ile ambayo unaweza. For me, I think where the story was, ile ambayo unaweza. He was just low-key saying, as you kifanya.
No, but you see, it's a big challenge to the president because truth to the point is that there are lots of things that President William Ruto promised.
Yeah.
Most of these things have not been delivered. Even as soon as a few, months, weeks ago, where I come from, there are things that he came at PS Soluga's, Thanksgiving. There are many things he told us that he would do. As much as some of those things are in the process. But Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, if you remember, even the appearances that he has had, he's always saying, those things will not be done. Those things will not be done. And it was therefore a good challenge for him to remind the president, wewe chenye unaweza fanya, fanya. Because probably they may or may not be done. Looking at the timelines and the budget because President William Ruto only has maybe one annual budget, 2026, 2027. And that's it. How much can you do?
Do you know how we can deal with this? Like, humbly speaking, I think...
advise the government.
Let me advise the government of Kenya today, right? So Kenya has committed itself to two commitments, right? So you'd look at the Vision 2030, which is the blueprint of the country with clear things to achieve in the short term, medium term, and in the long term. So if any government that is coming in and decides to focus on achieving Vision 2030 and just pushing it further, just pushing it further. That way, you're able to look at progress that the entire country is working towards. I know every president gets in and they have their own promises, which is fine. But if we all just focused on achieving Vision 2030, like as we speak the other day, the Communist Party in China sat and is coming up with its blueprint for the next, I think, 30 years.
Yeah.
And that is what every other leader who's coming in is going to be pushing. They're not coming in with the new promises. I will take you guys to the moon. We have a blueprint and this is what we're working with.
Yeah.
That will get rid of, ulikuja hapo ukatu promise, and you've not delivered.
Yeah.
But if you have a blueprint for the country and you know exactly what you're working towards, we've sorted, we've eliminated this problem.
That's really deep, because if you look at that Vision 2030, it has 3 pillars: socio-economic and political. Just pick one thing in the social arena.
Go.
Pick one thing in the political arena. Pick one thing in the economic arena. If it is pesa mfukoni,
weka pesa kwa mfuko.
Weka pesa mfukoni. If it is health, let SHA deliver. Let it work.
Yeah.
Let it not work in certain places, and in other places
Let
it is
not
not
it work
working.
for others.
Yeah. Just pick one thing.
Yeah.
And Kenyans will really appreciate you for that.
Anyway, that is free advice. Yeah, that is free advice. I'm not asking for commission. You need advice. So page 2, students have 1 month to apply for university and college courses. Portal for degrees, diplomas and certificates application runs until May 6th. And KEBS advises students to consider cluster subjects and weights and previous cutoffs. So that is Kenya Universities and College Central Placement Services CEO Mary Wahome who is saying that. And Al-Shabaab consignment recovered and suspect held. So these the police in Nairobi claim they have dismantled an Al-Shabaab terror ring and recovered combat uniforms. That is after a suit that happened in Isli in Nairobi. So we go as well just on matters education. Students struggle to access funds ahead of university exams. Education again and problems in that sector. So woman sues hospital for fetus video shared on social media. So woman accuses a hospital and staff of infringing her privacy and causing distress. So complainant is seeking compensation and a written apology and deletion of the video. That is so sad. Why would someone take a picture of the fetus and share it on? Like, I know we have phones. I know it has cameras, but please, some things are not to be recorded. Some things are not to be shared on the social media.
I think 2026
we need to take people through etiquette of using a phone. Yeah,
and beyond that is also the Data Protection Act.
Yes,
we have privacy issues. We have a whole commissioner
and even decency.
And so if a facility that you expect to have faith in, you get out of your house and you go to a hospital and you believe that I'm going in here, they'll be able to take good care of me. Why would you want to be indecent? Why do you want to, share somebody's
You can imagine the trauma that this woman went through already, you know, by going through the procedure and all that. And then you're taking advantage of that situation to share that online for a few clicks so that you trend.
So they are saying that there is public disclosure on social media that the hospital posted the video on X to announce their first identification of a cleft lip. Really?
Let me tell you, even if it was your identification, that is my anyway.
And even this thing called consent.
Yeah.
If you want to post somebody's photo or video, just ask Kevin Osido. We like what we are seeing. Can we post it? Why do you want to be me, or why do you want to be this patient? And assume that because you've identified your first cleft lip, that is now story.
You see, another thing is like hospitals, doctor-client privilege. You know, it does exist. So this is someone who just went ahead of themselves and did what they did, knowing very well it was wrong. There is no excuse for that.
A friend of mine would say, sue them.
Sue them. Uproar after Osotsi attacked in Kisumu restaurant. So there is that. We shall be talking about that later. So and then there is a new bill that targets foreign companies to purchase 60% of inputs locally. So farms risk fines of up to 100 million shillings and jail terms for top executives if they contravene the proposed bill once it is enacted into law. So the Local Content Bill 2025 proposes that multinationals depend on agricultural raw materials to obtain such produce from Kenyan farmers. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, it is how it will be packaged. And then also, I think the conversation that should follow this is, do we have enough material to feed those industries? So, you know, you can put this into law, but if you do not have enough materials, businesses would either ship out because of the law making it difficult for them to operate. So the government as well should move in to ensure that we have enough resources to feed into the companies. It does not just end on passing a law.
And indeed, the big talk around industrialization and manufacturing, this really feeds into the government's, promise and the larger vision 2030, because manufacturing is a very core pillar there.
Yeah.
But also looking at the county aggregated industrial parks, that even whatever is happening at the counties could then be, curated properly and then fed into a value chain that leads into this beautiful law that we are seeking to pass. It's a good thing, but we hope it's not just a paper that will be put somewhere to gather dust.
Yeah, so there is on page 6 the story on decorum collapses as Gachagua Ruto Square off at Requimas. So we shall be looking at that. And media houses miss out on millions as Ruto signs a budget. So yeah, so there is that. There is a supplementary budget that was supposed to be passed, but for some weird reason, they saw no need of including the pending bills owed to media houses. In that bill that was signed by the president. And he made me a queen. A widow recalls MP's love and generosity. What do you have on the Daily Nation?
Probably before the Daily Nation, Dennis, you would allow me, as a lover of devolution.
Okay.
There's a story on the Big Bold Standard, page 4.
Okay.
Down there, it says, Judge gives governor's nod to ignore Senate summons.
Okay.
This is an unfortunate judgment for us, those who are lovers of devolution and particularly accountability. I believe that the governors only identified one committee of the Senate. And because we have other mechanisms of addressing disputes and conflicts, even before we go to the courts, we are calling upon alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to take place, because we cannot sit in a country where monies get to counties, but that the constitutional power that the Senate has in Article 125 is taken away from them because a judge is saying that governors can ignore Senate summons. Where is a space of accountability? So it's one thing that we'll be looking forward to probably even petition or look for, the breadth of what this means for accountability in governors' summons. So, thank you.
I agree.
On the Daily Nation, the headline there is Face Off. So this is about President Ruto and his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. Yesterday shared a platform for the second time since the latter's impeachment in 2024. But this time, the allies turned foes traded sharp barbs during a reconnaissance in Olkalau, Nyandarua County, escalating their bitter fight for the political soul of Mount Kenya. Both of them are quoted there. President William Ruto says, I know the people from Mount Kenya voted for me. I am not a mad person or a fool. Those who are pointing fingers at me here, I will answer them with my actions. And the former DP, Rigathi Gachagua, says, you managed to kick me out of office, but as you can see, the people of Mount Kenya still love me. Removing me from the hearts of these people will be an uphill task. If you love the baboon, today's proverb, you will not care about its face.
How it looks.
So you can go further to page 4 and 5 of the Nation. Page 2 says, of course, there is a story about Gikomba traders struggling to stay afloat. Another sad story from where we sit, or rather where I sit. So Gikomba Market Association Chairman Bugwa Kibathi says relocation is part of a larger vision to modernize the market. About 3,000 in amounts of profit that trader. There's a story of a trader called Jacqueline Mutua. So she says that she used to make 3,000 shillings at the old site, but now she's lucky to make 500. A visit to the new site reveals a stark contrast to the old market. Is this a good thing if you're making 3,000 then, but now making 500?
No.
And we've just talked about a local bill to enhance local industrialization. Page 3 of the Nation, another big story there, why the courts can't force you to remain in marriage. Wow. Where love and companionship cease, divorce should be granted. So there is a story there of a High Court judge that the High Court has declared that courts should not compel couples to remain in irretrievably broken marriages, emphasizing that such unions could lead to emotional or social imprisonment. Again, back to the day's proverb. If you love something, does it apply?
It does apply, but then this is the point where if it's not working out, if you're not comfortable, if you're not at peace, this is where I say agree as adults to go your separate ways and find happiness elsewhere.
So the grounds of this is that the accusations and what the court said in this particular matter, that the man accused his wife of cheating, deservation and cruelty while she told the court that he withdrew conjugal rights and physically abused her. The woman opposed the divorce on religious grounds, something the court did not agree with. The judge said where love and companionship have ceased, divorce should be granted instead of forcing couples into judicial separation with no realistic hope of reconciliation. The law does not require spouses to endure emotional, psychological, or social imprisonment under the guise of marriage. Judicial separation is only appropriate where reconciliation is feasible, and that is what the judge added.
Yeah, if you can't reconcile, you got no business being together because...
Makes sense.
I
like the mention of religious grounds. So the space of religion, again, what it means to marriages, especially when you say until death do us part, it's a big discussion, right?
It's until death do us part, but in the event that death, you not get there, and you are unhappy before you get there, get out, man.
Sure.
Me, I'm for people being happy.
Yeah, especially because of some of the stories that we have seen about physical abuse. People even banning family members. If it doesn't work,
it's not worth it.
Page 4 again. Ruto and Gachagua turn into showdown. You can pick up that from page 4 to 5 of the Daily Nation. In page 6, there is a big photo of the head of public service there, Felix Kosgei, about the fuel scandal. Inside the meeting Kosgei chaired, so it's a meeting that took place, chaired by the head of public service on the fuel scandal. And the Energy Ministry sought waivers on the quality of fuel to be imported, saying consignment was destined for jurisdictions with different requirements. So there is a long story there about a crisis meeting.
It says that documents reveal that it is the Security Committee meeting that instructed Petroleum PS Liban to seek alternative sources to avert a looming fuel shortage. It seems like a lot of people knew.
Yeah, there's something going on here, which I hope that we will be told.
We'll be told, yeah.
Because the other day, the Standard asked us, did he know? Was he aware? You remember the big story on the headline about CS Wandayi?
Yeah.
And then we saw documents, letters being written, some of them approvals coming from his office. So we are hoping that this is going to be a story that will help us understand really accountability, transparency, and just the roles of PS, CS, and now head of public service in some of these issues. Yeah. And as that goes on in page 7, long queues as petrol stations across the country run out of fuel.
Yeah, we shall be having that conversation with Martin Chomba a little bit later, together with Ahmed Hashi, to just get to understand the developments in the Middle East, pretty much. Yeah.
Then the last one is on page 8 again. A story on MP's age 26 million veto that worsens media crisis. So Kenya Editors Guild warns failure to settle debts could weaken the media's role in a democratic society. Interesting, right?
Lawmakers cite lack of verification as they hold Treasury's plan to clear long-standing government debt owed to the media. One thing I can tell you for sure is the verification they're talking about. We have them. We have them because every time there is business, there are things that we call space orders. These are things that are there. The documents that have been signed for us to run an advert, for us to give you live coverage. So they just need to come to us to verify that these things did happen and verify with the officers that gave us business. So this is just a larger gameplay that is ongoing. But anyway, We are here, right? We continue pushing that notwithstanding. So let's quickly look at the Star, and we just look at the main page of the Star, and in there is inside the fuel saga, how KEBS and Wandayi emerged unscathed as well. So that is on the fuel saga that is ongoing. And traded barbs, Ruto, Gachagua tear each other in battle for Mount Kenya as well. And the ex-cabinet secretary Tuju denies charges in false information case, as well as Kenya and other global south countries seek fair share in a new pandemic agreement. So let's look at a story here on Kenya's Bolton newspaper, right? So we look at the biggest headline? So we go to page 6. And on page 6 is that story of Gachagua and Ruto and how decorum collapses as Gachagua and Ruto square off at Erikuma. So common decency was cast aside. Insults flew and protocol was ignored. This was not a political rally or a marketplace quarrel, but the Erikumas of Ol Kalou MP in Njuguna. Kiaraho, President William Ruto and his arch rivals, Rigathi Gachagua, turned the funeral into a show of political muscle, trading barbs over their strained relationship. It was their second face-to-face encounter since Gachagua's impeachment. At the previous meeting, only the president addressed mourners while Gachagua was kept off the VIP podium. They last met on November 16th during the episcopal ordination and the installation of Reverend Peter Kimani as the fourth bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Embu at the University of Embu grounds. Now, this time, Gachagua arrived early, took a seat on the VIP dais with his allies, and appeared ready for a confrontation. Now, Nyandarua Senator John Methu set the tone, rising to speak. He accused Ruto of mistreating Gachagua, misleading voters on development pledges and fearing crowds to disrupt at this ceremony. Now, Methu asked the gathering to show support for Gachagua while failing to recognize the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. Now, addressing Ruto, Methu said, although he respected him, he did not fear him. He told him that he was being misled by his political allies, that things were working on the ground. Now, as mourners applauded Methu's speech, pro-government allies steered clear of politics, with the speakers stressing they were there only to offer condolences to the bereaved family. At one point, Gachagua declined to address the mourners when first invited to the podium, but later rose to speak after National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula had finished. It was the moment he had waited for to face his former boss head on. He said that despite efforts to push him out of office in the hope his popularity would fade within 2 weeks, he remained a force to reckon with in his Mount Kenya backyard. If you just look at what happened yesterday, one asks the question, you look at the political temperature that is in the country today, and as we approach 2027 election, where are we as a country, because you look at what Gachagua said, how the president responded. You look at Senator Methu, how he was being kicked off the podium. And one is, we have to ask ourselves, what we are seeing today, is this an indication of what is to come in the future? Will it be, are we able to tolerate each other and play our politics in a safe and respectable manner without stepping on each other and just selling our policies and agenda to an end? Do we see that happen, or is this the style of politics that we are used to, and this is what will happen towards
It's a sad day for Kenya, particularly speaking politically, because this is happening at a national level, targeting key national leaders. But even if you were to visit the villages, the kind of drama that Kenyans are being treated to in local funerals, platforms similar to this one, is not any different. Because even there, people are using goons, people are attacking each other, and the kind of language that is also being used is one that is not respectful at all, is not honorable, is one that you would sit back and ask yourself, are actually our children watching this? So it's unfortunate, and we hope that institutions like NCIC will also be able to do their work, and that we will be able to hold down this ahead of 2027.
And I think to the political class, you can do better. You can play your politics in a safe manner, and that Kenyans are here. And what we are seeing is actually sad. You can do better.
Yeah,
I think that is the closing line. It is exactly 7 a.m. Leo Baga is up next with Newswire. Good morning.
Is the Situation Room, the only way to start. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.